So today we're going to learn how to solve simple rational equations. So we've been solving equations where we're going to be solving for the variable like x. We're going to still be doing that, except for now we're going to be eliminating our rational expression that might be on the bottom of our fraction. Okay, it can have, so there's going to be variables on the bottom, there's going to be expressions on the bottom, and then there's going to be combinations of variables and expressions. So there's going to be two methods for solving this. So our first method is going to use, you're only going to use it if you have a proportion. So this is a lot like the other, the way we were solving proportions in similar figures. So we're going to cross multiply, we're going to solve the resulting equation, and then we're going to check for extraneous solutions. And what that means is if we get something like all real numbers, we can't have a zero on the bottom of our fraction, because if we were to divide something by zero, it would give us an error, no solution. So instead of having all real numbers or identity, it's going to be all real numbers except for zero. And I'm going to explain that more as we go. Okay? So we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to take 5 and I'm going to multiply it by 3x plus 3. So it's going to be 5 times 3x plus 3. And that's going to also, we're also going to multiply this 5 times x plus 4. And then we're going to solve the resulting equation like we have been solving. So I'm going to get 15x plus 15 equals 5x plus 20. We're going to subtract 5x from both sides. And I'm moving fast at this point because this is the part that we've already done beforehand. So I'm going to get 10x plus 15 equals 20. I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides. And I'm going to get 10x equals 5. Divide by 10, and x equals 1/2. 5 over 10 reduces to 1/2. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply 6 times y minus 2 and 3 times y plus 5. So then I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to get 6y minus 6 equals 3y plus 15. Subtract 3y from both sides. I get 3y minus 6 equals 15. Add 6 to both sides. So 3y will equal 21. Divide by 3. Y equals 7. So the only part that's really different here is the cross multiplication, but we've already done cross multiplication. It just has 2 expressions at the bottom this time. Yes? Yeah. You can always take a picture of the board if I'm moving a little fast. There's also this video is going to be on campus. Our next method, the first step is finding the LCD. Now we're not going to just have a number for our least common denominator. Our least common denominator can have any combination of the following. We can have a number, which we have to look at all of our coefficients and constants to identify. It can have a variable, and if it does have a variable, it needs to be the highest of every variable that's in the expression, or any variable that's in the expression. And then it could also have a plus or minus expression. So it needs to have all different plus or minus expressions. So for example, here, if this was on the bottom of one of my equations, I would have to have x plus 4 as my least common, or as my least common denominator. So, after we identify the least common denominator, we are going to multiply each term by the least common denominator. And I know that some people were getting a little lazy and not writing out, multiplying by 5 for everything. You can't do that with this. And it's because there's going to be certain things that eliminate and certain things that do not, and you're going to get confused if you do not write it down. After we multiply by the least common denominator, we're solving the equation like normal, okay? We're distributing, eliminating fractions, then combining like terms, moving our variable to one side, moving our constant to the other side, dividing to get the variable by itself. And then we do have to check for extraneous solutions. So if we get all real numbers, we cannot have 0 on the bottom of our equation. So I'm going to look at my numbers first. I have a 3. That's the only number I have, so my LCD is going to have a 3 in it. I also need to look at my variables. I only have x, and it's only to the first degree, so my LCD is going to be 3x. Okay? I'm going to multiply everything by 3x. So 3x times 1 over 3. All right. Now I'm going to eliminate anything that's the same on top that we're multiplying by that's on bottom. So here I have an x and an x. So my x's eliminate here. Okay, here I have a 3 and a 3. So the 3's eliminate. Here I have an x and an x. So my x eliminates. I'm left here with a 3. So now I'm going to multiply 3 times 2 and get 6. 3 times 1 and get, x times 1 and get x. 3 times 4, 12. Then I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and x equals 6. Okay? Okay, I'm going to first look at my numbers. I have a 16 and a 4. Okay, so, well, can 16 go into 4? No, so 16. So, because 4 can go to 16 and 16 can go to 16. But I also have an expression. So my whole expression is going to be part of my LCD. So I'm going to have that just like this, 16 times x minus 4, that is my LCD, okay? And I'm going to multiply 16 times x minus 4 by everything. This is probably one that you need to be doing on a separate sheet of paper right now. So I have an x minus 4 on top and an x minus 4 on bottom. Those eliminate. Okay. I have a 16 on top and a 4 on bottom. So what's 16 divided by 4? 4. So I can eliminate those and be left with 4. Okay, I have a 16 on top and a 16 on bottom, so those eliminate. Now, I can multiply 16 times 1 and get 16. I have 4 times 1, which is 4, but I still have this x minus 4. Okay, and then I have a 3 here, and I still have the x minus 4. So it's 3 times x minus 4. Okay? And then now this is like a traditional solving problem where I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to get 16 plus 4x minus 16 equals 3x minus 12. Then I'm going to combine like terms, so 16 minus 16 is 0, so I'm going to have 4x equals 3x minus 12. Subtract 3x from both sides, and x equals negative 12. Yes.
Okay, so you're multiplying everything by 16 and x minus 4?
Yes.
But why x minus 4?
So that we can eliminate this fraction. The fraction with x minus 4. So what you are doing, you're going to find the LCD of every number, every variable, and every expression. And then that's what you're going to multiply everything by. Okay? Once we get to here, it's like a normal problem solving that we've been doing. So as long as you get this part and you get this part down, this part you can do on your own, okay? The part where we're solving. So I'm going to erase. Okay. So I'm going to look at my coefficients. So I have 1, 2, and 1. So my least common denominator in that case would be 2. And then I'm going to look at my variables. I have y, but you have to pick the highest y, the highest degree. So y squared is my highest degree. So my least common denominator is going to be 2y squared. Okay, so now we have to multiply everything by 2y squared. Okay. What is y squared? Yes. Y times y, right? So I'm going to represent this as y times y here, just for this one, because I have a y in the bottom. So I can eliminate this y and one of these y's. So I'm still left with 2y. Do we see that? Okay. Here I can eliminate 2y squared and 2y squared. I have a y squared on bottom here, so I can eliminate my y squared. So I'm left with 2. So now I'm going to multiply 2y times negative 4 and get negative 8y. I'm left only with 3 here. And then I'm going to have 2 times negative 10, which is negative 20. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides and get negative 8y equals negative 23. I'm going to divide by negative 8. I have 2 negatives here, so it's going to become a positive 23 over 8. Okay, the next one is very similar to the one that we had on the previous slide. So I have the constants of 5 and 15. So what would be my least common denominator out of those? 15. So I'm going to multiply everything times 15. But I also have to multiply everything times my expression. So that would be x minus 1. Okay. So, now when we're eliminating, I can eliminate my x minus 1 and x minus 1. Okay, how about here? I have a 15 and a 5. So what's 15 divided by 5?
3.
3. And I have a 15 and 15. So now that I've eliminated my fractions, I'm going to multiply. I have 15 times x, and I get 15x. I have 3 times, or negative 3, because there's a negative here, negative 3 times 3, which would be negative 9, but I still have this x minus 1. And then I have negative 2 times x minus 1, so that would be negative 2 times x minus 1. And this is like a traditional solving an equations problem where I'm going to distribute and then solve. So I'll get negative 9x plus 9 equals negative 2x plus 2. Combining like terms here, I'm going to get 6x plus 9 equals negative 2x plus 2. Add 2x to both sides, and I get 8x plus 9 equals 2. Subtract 9, and I get 8x equals negative 7. Divide by 8, x equals negative 7 over 8. Sorry, I kind of ran over. Okay, let's try the next, your turn, so we can do them together. Alright. 1 times x plus 6 is just going to be x plus 6, right? Anything times 1 is itself. X times 4 is 4x. Subtract x from both sides, and I get 3x equals 6. Divide by 3. X equals 2. Alright, however, the next one I do not have a lovely proportion here, so I have to come up with my least common denominator. So let's look at our coefficients first. I have 6 and 3. So out of 6 and 3, or using 6 and 3, what would be my least common denominator there? 6. So I'm going to multiply everything times 6. I also have an x in every single equation, so I'm going to multiply everything by 6x. Okay, so my 6x cancel out, my x cancel out, my x cancel out here, and then what's 6 divided by 3? 2. So this turns into a 2. Okay, so now I have 2 remaining here. I have 6 times 1 here, which is 6, and I have 2 times 4 here, which is 8. What's 2 plus 6? 8 equals 8, and beforehand we determined if we have a number equaling the number, and it's identity, right? All real numbers. So this is identity. Or all real numbers, which is represented by a R with 2 lines. except for x cannot equal 0. Because if I were to put a 0 in here, this would become 0, this would become 0, and this would become 0. So I'd have 2 over 0 plus 1 over 0 equals 4 over 0. And if you type in your calculator 2 divided by 0, you're going to get an error, which means that it cannot happen. Yes, every other number would work, except for 0. So that's what it means by identifying your extraneous solutions. This only happens if you get all real numbers, so 0 will not work. Okay? Okie dokie. I'll pass out your homework.